Hello there, everybody. It's been a little while, but the Plains of Providence crew is back. Welcome to Heroes Without Limits Twitch channel, where we are doing a Quest RPG campaign in a homebrew setting of my own creation. So, welcome to the Plains of Providence adventure with our lovely players today. Unfortunately, we do not have everyone here. Jen has a prior commitment that came up all of a sudden, and as a result of that, we are wishing her well and look forward to having her back next week. But until then, we have the rest of our fantastic players here with us this week as we are going to continue moving our story along. As we are, I think, at about the halfway point of our season already. I think we're somewhere around there. The time flies while we are having fun and indulging in cosmic horror and apparently NPC lusting or thirsting. It's it's a little bit of column A, it's a little bit of column B. But on that note, I'm Angela. I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be taking on the role of the guide, so the GM equivalent role here for Quest, and I'm going to let each of my players introduce who they are and who they're going to be playing throughout this adventure. So, if someone would like to take the initiative.
Hi everyone, my name is Jace, my pronouns are they, them, and I'm playing Farron Wildwood, who is the party ranger.
Fantastic. Lovely ears. Fabulous. Love them. Next up.
Amazing. Okay, I'll go. Hi. Hi, it's me, your friend Ines. Today I will be playing Haurian, your fighter, elf, big buff lady, your sister or mom, whoever you want her to be. And yeah, let's have some fun. I'm excited.
It's good to have you back, Inez, and good to just be with more of the group. And last but not least, Gabriel.
Hi, Gabriel, air they them. I am playing your shy and awkward invoker, half goblin Nim. And I missed you guys. So hi.
Missed you too, Nim. So that's our crew for today. Jen, who normally plays, as I said before, our naturalist, will be in the story, but we'll probably come up with some sort of little side path that she's going to be going through. As I think the custom we've been establishing is that anytime a player is gone, they go on to their own small adventure, whether it's attempting to deal with cosmic horror adjacent creatures and nearly getting crushed by a tar hand, being sent jaunting merrily through the spring court of the land of the Fae, or other things that I'm sure I'll have to come up with that happens. But in any case, let's pull back into and do a little recap of where our players are at. And as a heads up, to give a little bit of content warning, likely content that will be present will be slight body horror, uh, cosmic horror adjacent creatures. I never really try and get too in that terrain, but the kinds of creatures that the party has dealt with fall into kind of those territories. So if you're of the squeamish variety, be mindful. Fungi, and if seriously, if you have any legitimate fears of seals, this is not the session to be tuning in. There will be a lot of seals. You will discover why very shortly if you stay with us. And also, moths and insects will kind of be mentioned as well. I don't want to forget that, but nothing too detailed or anything. I try to avoid getting too graphic with any of that. But getting back into our story, our party, who of I guess misfits is the general term we should apply here, came together in the northern region city of Chantico on the eve of a festival celebrating the coming rebirth of the continent as the divine bird Ignis and their body was to fly down soon and land upon the realm and initiate the next cycle and the next chapter in the history of our world. In the midst of this celebration, the party managed to solve some issues and discover the reasons behind why certain creatures who appear from their investigations to stem from the far and outer realms of existence are currently causing chaos and are now seeking to spread that influence for some ill purpose to two other locations on the continent. One, the primeval garden, and second, a mountain range known as a warrior's downfall. The party, through some tactful sort of interactions with emissaries from various other planes, managed to receive a lift over to the primeval garden. And after managing many of the natural dangers of the environment, receiving some aid from a local ranger contacted through Farron's natural talents and such, left off with fearing potentially that they were to be taken by what seemed to be malevolent or at least unpleasant spirits and leftovers of the dead, known as echoes, when a strange figure appeared and seemed to soothe the temperaments of said creatures, and the party, in a tense moment of deciding between whether to engage said individual or to leave them be, ultimately decided not to engage and discovered that this individual is Odyssea, a local spirit, a soul guide of sorts, what we in common terms might refer to as a psychopomp of sorts, who has offered the group the chance to rest and escape the dangers of the forest at night in her own home region of the Darrow River Pod. And that is where we leave off. We left off with our party as they had just arrived at what seemed to be almost kind of small cottage homes, these little kind of tight-knit community split across two bends of a river that went through a massive pool at the bottom of what seemed to be almost like a waterfall that seemed to stem from the very center of a tree that spread out across the entirety of the forest. For anyone who is an Avatar The Last Airbender fan, think like the swamp. That tree, yeah, it's basically that tree. Like that, but think an actual waterfall coming out of the tree and forming what is essentially its own little river. That the party has arrived at the Darrow River Pod community, led by their guide Odyssea, who, just for a little bit of refresher, think roughly around 6 foot tall, kind of almost angelic individual, light, kind of bronze skin, very warm tones, and hair that has this almost silver and silver to the point of looking almost kind of metallic, long hair that's braided with an almost heavenly kind of glow about her. And their presence, somewhere between ethereal, comforting, and just slightly off-putting. Not helped, perhaps, by the fact that they also seem to have a pair of butterfly-like wings behind them, coming out of their back. Very beautiful colors. But the party has arrived at in this community, and Odyssea is simply standing on the edge of the community's boundaries. If you would like, I can introduce you to some folks soon, or we can, if you are tired and would like to rest, we can simply go to my home. We have some guest space that should be able to house you.
Thanks a bunch. And I don't know about anyone else, but I'm kind of tired.
Yeah, pretty tired. Kind of don't want to linger.
Yeah, I think it's best for us to take a rest first. Maybe we can meet your folks afterwards.
There are quite a lot of individuals who may take a shine to you, yourself in particular, Howdian. But I will lead you to my home. My spouse will likely be waiting for me to have returned, so I'll try not to. Let's try and be a little not too noisy as we enter on in. And as giving sort of a refresher of just the kinds of individuals folks are seeing, you're seeing at least 3 distinct varieties across the river pod communities of what look to be seal-like humanoid individuals, some all of whom in some way or another tied around their waist seem to have some form of seal skin, but differ in the intensity of how deeply coated their bodies are in brown fur, and how I guess kind of finny or webbed their hands and feet kind of are. Some don't seem to actually walk around with shoes or anything of the sort, while others are a little bit more dressed. Some folks seem to have what look like basic hunting or bow gear as well. And other folks, even from this distance, seem to have what look to be almost crystalline and metallic components across among some of the gear. You do even spot like there's one little like seal humanoid kid who seems to be tinkering on something and then sort of waves a very webbed kind of hand over to the group. But and there's a mixture of looks at all of you. Some kind of curious, some are kind of eyeing you with very I guess the best way of describing is the Fry suspicion meme face of just like narrowed eyes, just like don't know if I trust them. And there are other folks who look like they're eagerly excited to say hello, but they seem to be giving space with Odysseia leading you the way. And you see there's in the distance, she does note that getting to her home requires crossing across the river. The river is not going fast or anything at this moment, but it does require just a little bit. And she starts moving aside some set aside foliage that seem to cover this little path that she seems to move with her hand to make a little like living tree path for you all to go across.
Okay, good. So there's a bridge.
Yes, there is a bridge.
We're good. I'm just short, don't worry.
You're good, don't worry. But yes, and you go to what is Odysseia's home, which is relatively small and quaint, but looks as though it's been extended over time, and it has a few different guest rooms. It looks as though there's a main little living room, where it looks as though by the door, as she moves to open the door for you, and they start leading you into their home. It's very easy to spot that there's a few canes by the door. There's also a chair that looks as though it has some sort of like naturalistic wheels and foliage to it. And you see that there's a living room there as well. It almost looks like a couch that's been like handcrafted specifically there, where some of the parts look kind of like they are actually quite resistant to water and such. And the reason for that becomes quite apparent as there is another individual currently sitting on the couch there. This individual, let's see, has curly brown hair, very pale skin that has a kind of a wet appearance to it. It has a, forgive me for saying this, has a very moist appearance to it.
Nice.
And kind of also very, very obvious seal features, but if you could describe a curly-haired butch Selkie, that's probably the best approximation of how they look.
Just lesbian Selkie. Okay.
Yeah, basically lesbian Selkie. But
Stop breaking my heart already.
don't worry. That happens later. But the individual...
Wow.
The individual gets up, and the individual is, and this is pretty common for a lot of the folks around it, the tallest among some of the Selkie folk seal folk you were seeing were like 5'5", which is still tall in comparison to some people in the group, but a lot of the folks tend to, the average is like 5'2" is about the like mid, and some folks go as low as like 4 foot like 6 or 7ish.
Okay, so I think
Taller than someone.
I think I'm like crouching in this house then. Like I am, my 6'2" self is just like, you know, It's just in the house.
It does look as though the house itself actually adjusts to your height just a little bit. Like the extent of the
Wow.
ceiling seems to just move just the faintest bit.
Okay, cool.
Wait,
Uh,
so it's like a tree growing up.
I love it.
Yes. But the individual who is only about 5 foot tall, maybe 5'1" max, uh, kind of like gets up, and you see them just sort of like immediately resting on another cane that's they're carrying. They're kind of pressing down on it and leaning on it, favoring sort of their right leg. And in a voice that's much louder in comparison to the size of the individual for which it's coming out of, it's like, "Oh, hello. Did you bring? Oh, Odyssey, have you returned home? Are you good? Is everything fine? Oh, did you bring new people? Oh, we have visitors. Oh, wonderful. I love you all already here. Hello. Who are you? Who are you?
Hi. Hi.
Oh, you're cute. That's even better. Hello.
Oh. Okay. Hi. My name is Haurian, but you can call me Hao. That's totally fine. I'm here with my party. Would you like to introduce yourselves, everyone?
Tentatively holds out a hand. Farron, nice to meet you.
Very enthusiastically grabs it. Hello, hello. And it's surprisingly strong, small individual as well, and like very excitedly like moving the hand up and down.
Okay then.
You will
You're
because
muted,
Nova
I think.
because Nova has pointed this out to me as well. You also know in terms of body size, folks tend to err on the stockier side as well. This individual has a rather robust belly as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you for reminding me about that, Nova.
Okay, yeah, no, Nim is just trying not to like snicker when Farron is like almost losing their arm, maybe.
Farron is not stocky. Farron is a rake.
Oh dear.
This is the.
But
Oh.
and they turn to Nim as well, the individual. Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Shifts over the hand and is like doesn't seem to try and want to do the shaking of the hand as long because this is a GM problem. Do you notice they do seem to wince every now and then as they're switching the hand over to the cane or which one they favor, but they seem to put it back. They're like, apologies, a little bit of excitement. Hello, I'm Mieri. It's a pleasure to meet you all. For those interested, it's Mairi. I'm Mieri. This is, and obviously Odyssea, I'm sure has mentioned me. I am their spouse.
GM question. Serena is still with us, I'm assuming.
Yes, I'm certain that she is left speechless in terms of, or is left really not knowing what to say and is probably crushing on another person, if we are safely to assume history.
Undoubtedly.
But yes, the individual seems quite enthusiastic, is quite, again, very loud, very energetic sort of voice, has the energy of probably someone who's in our modern world who's probably had like a couple shots of like espresso at any given moment.
Are you just describing me? That's fine, but
It's
Ines,
just
I just
fantasy
made a seal
Red Bull.
version of you. It's fantasy Red Bull. No, it's yeah, no, it might just be it's just a fantasy seal folk version of Ines in that case.
Yep.
If you would like to think of it that way, Ines.
Yeah, because that's me basically.
But yes, and you see Odyssea just kind of get a little shy and somewhat blush, and it's like,
Cute.
Yes, I did mention you, dear. They look as though they're interested in doing some traveling through the woods, and I finished up taking care of some of my rounds for today. But I think they'll be staying with us for just a little bit, if that's all right. And her spouse seems to reply, "Oh, of course, of course. Do they need food? Do they need any additional clothing? Are you warm enough? Do you need anything else? Should I get food now? I should probably get food now. Do you need anything else to be comfortable? Do you have any other things you should bear in mind?"
Question: does this world have like coffee?
Yes.
Okay, so I just go. I mean, a cup of coffee would be awesome. Other than that, I'm totally fine.
Yes. Let me go speak with someone real quick, and I will be right back. I'll see if I can get you a little bit of coffee. I need to go speak to someone real quick.
Hmm.
Okay.
Howden, don't you need like new boots? You kind of got
So-
drenched and also are very low on supply.
That is
True.
true.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me about that. We were walking for so long, I didn't really notice it, and she kind of just like goes like back and forth from the other from one foot to the other, and you just hear like the soggy noise. Yeah, and she says, "Yeah, so I got like drenched. So new boots would be awesome." And I lost my water skin. Um
We should probably dry clothes maybe.
mhm.
Well, why don't we get you all warmed up by whatever means is necessary to get you all comfortable and everything, and then we'll get you all situated in a nice cozy bed, and I'll see. Do you do fish? Do you do fish? Do you do fish? Fish?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Fresh, raw, cooked?
I've
Preference?
got no preference.
Yeah, all of them.
Good. Good. Not picky. Very easy. But even if you were picky, I would adjust things as need be. But not picky, even easier. I'll be right back. I need to go talk to someone. I need to go see if Moira can let me borrow their device. I'll be right back.
Moira. What a good
And you see the very enthusiastic and loud Selkie, boisterous loud Selkie spouse just sort of walk out, and Odysseus just sort of has a like, you'll have to pardon my spouse's quite intense energy. They are kind of always like that, especially on days that are a little, even on days that are a little more rough on them. And also, apparently, they're not as worn out from some of their own rounds as well, either, which is strange. Normally the children are a little bit more rambunctious, especially the new ones.
They are totally pardoned. I love their excitement. So,
Well, I'm glad it's appreciated.
I'm glad she's they.
Oh, either one
Is
will
it
work, dear. The
okay?
same for me. No worries. We like to do a little bit of back and forth. We're not particularly picky most days. You know how that kind of thing can be. Some days you want a certain kind of thing, and other days you're like, I exist, therefore that's enough.
yeah.
That's fair.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So can we just dry our clothes? I guess. Is there a fire?
Yes, no worries, dear. Here, let me take you out back, and you see that there does appear to be a little area in the out back that is specifically there's a hole dug in deep for like more of a proper fire pit to be set, so it's not actually setting to anything in the forest. Because if you just randomly set a fire in the forest, it will go bad. This will be bad. I'm not very well versed in the wilderness survival things, and even I know don't just randomly set a fire in a random spot. You have to actually set a proper building, like an actual area for it. But it does look as though, and it seems as though this one is specifically designed for there's angle to the way that the whole sort of pit has been built, so as to make it a perfect angle for skewering and cooking fish. And it looks as though there are some fish that are actually currently cooking right now.
Amazing.
It's strange that it looks as though they've probably just been freshly put on, as though a very excitable seal folk might have already just run in, and once you had just finished telling them that you wanted food, had already started to set it aside,
Interesting.
and it's already gone back out the other way. It's quite strange.
I love their enthusiasm.
I don't know. That seems kind of sus.
So what? Why?
Did they just vent? No. Uh, yeah, cool. So I'll
Suspicious.
like yeah,
Not
suspicious.
sus.
And so I'll like take off the clothes that are very, 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 very wet, and I'll like dry them by the fire.
Here, dear. I'll see. I'll see if I can find you an extra set of clothes. But here, and sort of leads you all inside. And some of the back rooms, there's just a couple of extra cozy beds and such. It's really only 2 extra rooms, so folks will have to like bunk it up. Not bunk up, but like pair up a little bit.
Uh,
But they look very comfortable. The blankets are quite warm, and there's just it's very strange being around Odysseus in a lot of ways. There's just a very comforting sort of presence at all times, and you feel very often like to be around them for an extended period of time might almost feel like your wounds themselves would heal from how warm her presence kind of is.
that's
She
cool.
she just seems quite. There's a softness to the way she seems to move. And you see,
Mhm.
even occasionally, there is a small little orb of light that you recognize as one of the echoes. Occasionally tries to wander through, and then she just sings very calmly. And then the spirit just seems to like calm down and then just go back to its way along the forest. And the coloration becomes less of an intense fire red, and it becomes more soft, kind of like midnight blue kind of color.
That's very cool what you do with the orbs, the spirits, I think, right?
Yes. Yes. It is. It is a in a way a family profession. Um, my my family has lived for many generations doing this kind of work, and simply allowing those who have not yet let their attachments to this world let them be. Sometimes the spirit wants to linger on far past when is necessary, and it's helpful to give them a guide to know that they no longer need to hold on to any of those past things.
That's really, really calming to hear. I hope when it eventually is my time, uh, I will either pass on or be helped indeed. So thank you for your work.
It's simply part of being here. It's unfortunate, but it is part of Zahara's will in the way that the garden functions. The garden does not take kindly to those who disrespect its rather chaotic nature, and as such, many souls who are brash and perhaps even foolhardy find themselves lost within the belly of a creature or within the long gone and without a means to properly see themselves seen off, in a sense. So I often do rounds around the edges of the community and a little bit deeper in the forest when I can.
That sounds a bit too familiar to be caught in the belly of a beast. So I thank you very much. Thank you.
Really, no trouble at all. My partner is a little bit more a bit more direct on the actual life part of things. I'm oftentimes a little bit more focused on the death side of matters, given that I mostly deal with those who have long passed. My partner is more inclined to deal with the beginning and the more perhaps joyous occasions of existence.
That sounds very nice.
They deal with a lot of screaming. They're a birth worker around here in the community, so I think you can imagine the sound of a baby seal being born and then immediately becoming a small baby human. It's uh, it's a unique sight and one that, being entirely honest, I'm not always fond of.
Mhm. I could understand that.
Yeah. Uh, where are we allowed to sit? Just so I know.
Here, sort of. There's a few logs that are positioned a bit away from the flame. The fish will be ready shortly if you'd like to sit down, or we can sit down in the household, whichever one you would like.
I just wanted to make sure some of my gear was dry, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. Feel free. Make yourself comfortable. This is as much your home as it is mine. At least that is the attitude that we have here.
Nim is very confused, and also, as you may have noticed, is cannot not be very direct.
Would it make it easier if I say, please take your gear that is proving to be an encumbrance to you off and set it aside where it needs to be dried? Would that be more direct and helpful?
Yes.
Please take off your gear that is proving to be an encumbrance to you and set it off where it needs to be dried.
Thanks.
For I must say, you remind me of my partner in many ways. For such a small person, you seem to have such worries about that far, far more mountainous than your size would seem to suggest. But I suppose that is not uncommon for many folk these days.
Yeah, I'm just not good at talking to people. Yeah.
It's all right. Neither am I. I just pretend like I am. Also, I've seen like a lot of wars and stuff, and I like diplomacy is very, very like
Weird.
important, but weird. So yeah.
I have a very random question. Nim, would you say that you're experiencing an element of either fear or confusion about this currently with the situation, or is it just more like stressful or anxious? What would be the kind of like, how is Nim feeling in this moment?
They just kind of feel awkward. They're not. They've come to be told that their way of being direct when they are being a guest or being helped is very I guess unseemly, to use a more complicated term that they wouldn't use.
You you hear her speak, and she says, "Be at peace, or rather, still whatever worries you have about speaking out of turn. I promise." And sort of looks in the direction towards the household. I've heard far more direct things than you've ever possibly could imagine.
I'm not sure about that, but I'll take your word for it.
And they sort of they gesture more directly towards the house. Trust me. And as they say trust me, Nim, if there is any sort of awkwardness that you feel about this situation, for the next hour you do not experience it to the same extent.
Oh, okay.
Something about what Odysseus said feels relieving to you, and there's a sense of ease.
I will preemptively put my foot in my mouth out of character.
But yes, what is Farron doing, by the way? I've just been seeing Jace just shaking their head the entire time.
I'm just like, everything about this is so highly suspect. I do not trust winged people who talk to spirits in the dead of night. The whole situation is
poetic.
It's a very oddly specific level of distrust to have, like a very oddly specific topic to have distrust around.
It's just like, if there's anything playing RPGs has taught me, it is do not trust Fae. But it's just like
Do not trust
it's like,
fate or do not trust Fae?
yes.
Okay, fair.
But
To be
it's,
fair, you don't know if she is Fae.
I don't, it's this thing of
I don't
Strange-
know, therefore scared.
strange person talks to spirits of the dead, very like overly welcoming, and just lets us into their home. Very enthusiastic spouse that seems to like us instantaneously. It's like it no.
If it makes you feel any better for Jace the player, I promise there are no chicken feet beneath the home currently. If you're worried about that, I promise that's not a thing.
Oh, brilliant. But it's just that sort of like Farron is just very suspicious of everything that is going on right now. It's like, how do we know they're not just like, cosmic horrors in disguise? How do we not know?
Okay.
Well, they haven't tried to kill us yet. That's the thing.
Yet.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see later, but normally, like a bad guy, I think if we're in their home, that would probably tell us that they're a bad guy, but I haven't gotten any red flags yet.
Have you gotten no red flags because you're actually looking for red flags, or is it because you're a bit too starstruck?
You know. Who can say, really? Who can say?
Little column A, little column B.
Okay, now that I'm literally imagining Haurian and Serena just like since Inez the player has been putting on makeup, just like quickly like trying to put on some blush, turn back around. Yes.
Why is that so
I mean,
true?
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
But
because I think Hao would have like a little bit of blush just in her backpack somewhere.
you know what? It exists in the world. It's there. And I'm
Yes.
just gonna, because I am
Amazing.
God in this world.
I love it.
It's my favorite statement to be able to make playing any RPG of any kind. It's just, I am God of this world. Therefore, I decree blush exists.
Yay.
Though, to be honest, I think the moment we saw Odysseia, the blush was not needed. It was just natural.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, true.
Fair. Apparently, I just need to make a tall, ethereal sounding and appearing like feminine coded individuals, and then just
And then that's
gays-
it. That's it.
two
That's
gays
all you
are
need to
suddenly
do.
intrigued.
Yeah.
That's 2 out of the 4.
2 out of the 4. Don't
Oh.
worry. There's Selkie twinks. Don't worry.
Hold on. Okay.
And now
Carrying
we've
on.
lost.
Car-
Now we've lost
carrying-
one more.
Carrying
Uh-oh.
on from that.
Yep.
Don't think I don't pay attention. Carrying on from this slight detour of NPC conversation. There, Mayari does happen to come back later and is super enthusiastic, and you see that they do actually. I'm saying the best way I can describe the device they bring back that they keep inside. Imagine, if you will, an artificer-styled coffee machine.
Ooh.
That's so like a steampunk kind of.
It's a steampunk coffee machine.
I love it.
I wanted.
I want it. So it's like copper and like gold, and there's like all kinds of cog wheels like exposed.
Kind of, but it looks as though more where like cogs and wheels might be there. It looks as though there's almost like crystalline geodes that are forming some of the main components.
My God.
And you see that the serving portions are not the biggest amounts. They're like small teacup sized amounts, and it looks as though even the cups that came with it are more sized for a child. It looks as though perhaps this was actually like, and the design and makes with some of the scratches on the crystals and such, it looks as though there might have been a kid working on this.
Interesting.
Smart kid.
I look at the device. I just go, what is that?
It actually can brew coffee for anyone who is interested. This is Maeri speaking.
Hmm.
If it doesn't always feel quite as consistent as going through the whole process of steeping and stewing everything yourself, but it is faster and at times a little bit more convenient whenever we're able to keep the parts running. Callum has actually been quite kind enough to actually be working on a few little inventions all around. And, well, his father is quite proud and tries to make sure everyone makes use of them whenever possible, even when they lead to accidents.
Accidents?
Uh, well, sort of gestures towards a couple of very noticeably bent tree branches a little bit closer to the massive pool formed by the waterfalls.
Hmm.
Those didn't used to be bent that way.
Interesting. Okay.
Unfortunate accident with some of the artificial tinkering.
Yeah, that sounds
Callum is
very.
Callum still apologizes for it. Really shouldn't be doing so. It's quite a smart one.
Uh, well, I would love to taste a cup of it, if that's possible.
Oh, by all means. If you require sugar or anything else of the sort, we have it on hand.
Yeah, sugar and milk, please.
Of course. And there is some nice accoutrement. There are also some tea as well. There are both to be little packets put together of tea bags, as well as just fresh batches that seem to be there's little pouches that have been hand created and put together that are available for stewing and such. And it looks as though have almost like not quite ceramic, but sort of like a tiny pottery jar equivalent that holds little bits of sugar in it. And you see if you tell Maeri in any way like what you want, they just go about immediately making it to whatever specifications you give them. And it's like a flurry of activity. And the entire time you're seeing Odysseus also kind of chasing around their partner around the kitchen, trying to get them to not do everything because they notice that their partner is getting tired very quickly.
Mhm. That's very sweet.
That is a very sweet household, and the fish is served. It's cooked quite nicely, served right by the flame, and they eat it outside, and it's available. You do notice that Maedi teeth very more massive, kind of gummy, like think seal teeth, like very butch Selkie appearance, like still humanoidish, but also mouth region is very on the seal end of things, gummy teeth. So and is just straight up eating raw fish, like is like chucking a fish up in the air and like catching it in their mouth, like very happily.
Impressive.
Interesting.
Impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. I mean, I'm not gonna judge them for their ways. Like, go ahead.
Oh, Nim is just like, okay, that's interesting, and also sitting in front of the fire going, I need to not fall asleep because I'm really tired.
Does Nim like show that on her face or on their face or
I mean, they're very easy to read, so when they see them doing the when they see the other person eating fish, they're just kind of like, oh, that's neat, but also like trying to get their gear off and dry it, and also sitting against one of the logs going, wait, no, I'm supposed to say wake.
Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of lean over to Nim and I just go, if you want to go to sleep, you can. Like, don't let us keep you.
But you're all do. You get the do not compute math gif.
Yep,
See,
Uh-huh.
Mary just kind of peeks up right between the two of you two. Really, dear, if you need to sleep at all, or if you're really tired, you don't feel like you need to stand on mere principle and happiness. Just go to sleep.
Nim just yelps and is just kind of like, oh, okay. I guess I'll do that.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Have a nice sleep, please.
They're relieved, but also they're just doing this.
Yeah. I'll just like sit by the fire with my meat sitting like this. Hold on. Just like with the knees just like in a ball, you know.
Oh, I thought it was more like you just have like a set of skewers in your hand and you're just going like
Oh,
this.
that too, but also just like scrunched up into a ball and just like having the best time of her life. She loves it.
They provide a whole bunch of fish, however much you want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
It's also offered to Farron, of course, if they would like any of it.
I would take like some fish, like skeptically.
It's quite delicious. It looks as though it's been prepared like perfectly.
Yeah.
That do eat it. It's just a case of like, should I be eating this?
Yeah, you see me like chomping down on like 5 of them. So it's like it's like if I eat it and I come out alive, it's fine, you know.
I'm not dead, therefore it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
The most worrying word in that sense was if.
Yeah. Um
But no, the evening progresses. They stay up and they're more than welcome to chat with any of you if there's anything you'd like to ask them or talk with them about.
well, I just kind of go like so we came here because we heard you would be able to help us to get to the temple of what's she called again, Farron?
Tahara?
Yeah,
Yes.
that one. Yeah, her temple, which was told to us that wasn't like able to be found, but we heard you might be able to help us.
Is Nim just like passed out asleep somewhere?
Hell yeah!
Excellent, excellent. I was just like, very nice mimicry. Thank you for that. You would see Odysseus' face just a tiny bit sadder and say, "Yes, I do. I do know of the way to get over there. It is. It's not a pleasant trek. I should let you know ahead of time. It is. I suppose the best words to describe it might be mournful or rather sad occasion to try and go in that direction.
Can I ask you why that is?
And you see Mary just sort of like sidle up close to Odysseus, and like there's a very distinct height discrepancy. It's like a foot of height difference between them, but see Mary just sort of like lean their head against Odysseus' shoulder to like sort of comfort them, and she continues on. The dead, remember that place quite strongly, or rather the forest does. And they are not kind. They are not one to let others go to it. Particularly after what many who once frequented and were often seen as stewards of the forest did previously.
What did they do?
Sir, you see her turn. Odysseus turns to Farron, and I take it from I take it from your equipment and such that you are trained in some capacity in the forest and such, yes?
Correct?
Do you know the tale of Thomas Reimer?
Do I know the tale of Thomas Rhyme?
It's, I would say, roll me a d20 to know how much information you do actually recall, like confirmed information.
13?
You have heard the story. It's a tale that it fits sort of an urban legend kind of range of things. It's somewhere between urban legend and like bedtime story that kids who like to train out in the forest to be especially like get told by either their mentors or by or just like it's a story that is shared like as sort of like quote unquote wives an old wives tale. Thomas Reimer was said to at one point have been a naturalist, a very powerful one who sought to help found some of the main communities that do exist in the primeval garden, was among one of the first founders. However, the way the story goes is that there was an occasion in which a fae came to occupy a portion of the garden and sought to not give up the area without some resistance. Now, Thomas Reimer was someone who, for the most part, tried to make peace with people where possible, but found himself becoming suddenly desperate when the Fae managed to trick his devoted partner, Tamarin Linford, into a pact in which his very soul was taken from him. As a result, Thomas Reimer cried out almost to the heavens and to the very forest itself, seeking any means to bring him back. And in doing so, something replied. And it asked for 10 souls for his loves to come back. And Reimer indulged in it. He cried out, believing that perhaps Zahara's will had granted him clemency and peace and a means of saving his beloved. However, when he found 10 souls who were willing, true to his nature, he informed them of what he was asking them of, and they were willing to help him for all the work he had done to help their communities. When the souls came and were offered, the voices that replied were not of the primeval maiden, but of something very foul and profane. Something that's said to have taken all of them, including Reimer, and Reimer was never heard from after that point. The story goes that Reimer still exists, and that in the forest as a lingering spirit, who said that on occasions where a naturalist or one who indulges in changing their form seeks to go beyond the natural limits of nature, that those who violate the boundaries of nature can feel the presence of Thomas Reimer and the apostles of anathema who work with him, who all seem to speak in a sorrowful, mournful tone, still waiting for Reimer's beloved to return.
Damn.
Yeah, you can say
Upon being
damn
asked
again.
that question. Yeah. Upon being asked that question, then it's like Farron's just gonna say, yeah, I remember my dad telling me that story when I was a kid.
When you were a kid, that's a very traumatic story to tell a kid. Oh my god, I got hurt by that. That's
I think he did it to try and make me a bit more wary of the forest, but it didn't really work.
Yeah. No, that well, I'm glad it didn't work, but also damn. That's really sad. That's not now I understand why this is such a mournful trip.
It is. Because he's there.
No way.
Or at least something very akin to Reimer exists. It it lingers near the temple and the grounds. It is why no one ever has been successful in getting there. Reimer's
I,
spirit remains.
I want to go find him.
You're crazy.
I mean, I know.
It's not a bad thing, dear. But also,
True.
I think the word you're looking for is reckless.
Yes, that's what I surely was looking
I-
for.
Again, I know.
Okay.
Let me be clear. The temple was once a treasured foundational piece of those who wish to give reverence and, in a way, seek the blessing of the primeval maiden. It's said that it's uncertain if it is Reimer himself, but it is hard not to believe the old stories when such foul things as I have seen appear quite a while ago, maybe 30, 40 years back. I saw things, ghastly, alien like creatures. And Odysseus gives a description, and you recognize the description of the creatures.
Mhm.
Oh, those things. Ah,
We've seen them before,
yeah. Rather
sadly.
too close for comfort.
My apologies for bringing up such a distressing tale, particularly after we've just eaten.
No. I asked for that. And so if that needs to be told, if I need to be told this information to really understand what is going on, that that is totally not your fault and no need to apologize.
It it is part of why I very often do not. It is part of the reason why I do the work that I do here. Something like that, when the soul is not allowed to move on and be at peace. Hello, car alarm. When the soul is not allowed to be at peace, it is more often subject and susceptible to influence of a most foul nature. And I sense grief will often tear apart a soul faster than anything else, and the hope of relieving oneself of from that grief will make someone quite desperate. It is why the echoes are so fragile in a way, and is why they are so temperamental. They are both quite angry at what they have lost, and they're afraid of not having any more time.
Yes, I fully understand. Um so I guess why I was asking um is because um we I we were attacked by some um entities uh in um in the town of is it the town of Agni or is it like a
It's
city?
Chentico.
Oh,
Chentico would have been the city.
Chantico. Chantico would have been the city, true.
Agni is the overall like realm name, but it's the proper name for the continent. But because it's the main focus of the realm, it is
Hmm.
sort of also at times like colloquially the name for the realm itself. But it's more
Hmm.
often the proper designation is it's the continent name The city you're in is Shantico.
Yeah. Okay. So in the city of Chantico, we were attacked by some creatures from different planes of existence, I guess.
Mm.
They were not nice. uh, and this told us basically that we had to kind of we found out that they were going to attack um, the forests, the primeval forest, the primeval garden, and a region in the mountains called that what was it called? The Warriors Downfall. My brain is not working. It's fine.
As a reminder to my players and to viewers, we're in a pandemic.
Yep.
Rain fog is a given.
Yes.
Let's be nice. Anyways.
Yes. Yeah. So with investigation, it was told to us that they were going to attack those places, and we are, of course, trying to prevent that from happening. We don't want this beautiful forest and your beautiful community, of course, to be affected by this. So I guess, unfortunately, we have to travel to the Temple of Zahara. And I think you are like our biggest hope here. Because I think without you we won't get there. And maybe not even alive.
Well, I will be willing to help you as best I can. If something like this is allowed to stay in the forest, more than just a few souls will be left in a state of unrest. I will do what I can, but I hope you agree with me. I think this is a matter for the morning. When we are all rested, and when you're and stares over at the drying clothing, when you are more properly equipped to handle the forest again.
Yes. Yes. You are right. Yes, let's take a rest. So we were told to like bunk up together, right? Like, or like pair up. Yeah.
There's 2 guest rooms, 2 beds in each room, but basically you have to
Mm-hmm.
pair up.
I was gonna ask, can I sleep outside in the tree?
You can.
Someone's just gonna have to like put him somewhere because they're already snoring very loudly.
You do see that well, actually only Howdy and Farron notice that Mary actually does pick up Nim quite easily, I might add, and just carries you to a bed to comfortably be.
I was gonna say like I was gonna like interrupt and get her, but that's fine. I'm like, oh, you know what? If she's gonna do it, that's totally fine.
Yeah, Meredy is just like, oh, the poor dear. Oh no, wait. Oh, you were referring to Meredy doing it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Meredy uses they and the. I think Meredy is more just they. Meredy is more just they them. Odyssea is she they.
Okay.
It's like a clarification there for benefit of the player's usage.
Good. Yeah.
But,
thanks.
Yeah. Meredy's like, oh, don't worry. I've handled seals before. This isn't that much different in terms of weight and size.
Amazing. Yeah, and then I find a safe spot to sleep in. I guess I'll share the room with Nim. And
so Farron has the room with Serena.
Yeah, unless he's sleeping. They are sleeping outside.
Farron, they're sleeping in the tree outside.
Exactly.
Farron, if you wouldn't mind, could you roll me a d20?
Oh god. Oh, 16.
So you do happen to hear throughout the evening. You do get a full rest without too much issue, but you do hear just far off in the distance, just every now and then you hear the sound of what sounds like a bunch of foliage just getting shuffled around, and then you occasionally hear the sound of just a huge mass of earth moving that just sounds like and you do also hear a rather big noise at one point in the evening. Just
That is definitely an awake and bow drawn noise. Just
I will say, there's no issue that comes up, but you do see what looks like something akin to something like giantkin, so humanoid but a massive creature, covered in what looks like pustules of poison and fungi.
oh. Right. I'm gonna go up slightly higher.
It's like, that's a nope. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out.
Am I within reach? Probably. Let's go up.
And
Let's get out of the reach.
but you don't, and nothing else happened outside of you do catch one other thing you catch in the middle of the evening. It's very quick, but you see probably near right before morning is like fully like before the sun's getting the full peak over, when it's like that kind of like the sun's not quite out, but it's light's still starting to kind of move through some of the forest. It's like it's still down below. It's not in the treetops, to be clear. And you catch a glimpse of something bipedal, green and kind of almost hairy at some points, but insectoid, like a termite, with massive pincer claws and about 4 feet tall. And there's a moment where you see like it looks as though it's moving through all the trees, and then it's like at different spots where there's shadow, it seems to just suddenly pop into existence into different spots all around.
Yeah, I'm getting out of the tree now.
It's like I'm out. I'm out.
It's going up. No, going down.
I also need to get off Mr. Bones as well. Right now. It's not great. It's not a fun time. But morning arrives.
It's the primeval garden. Everything wants you dead.
It's not that everything wants you dead, it's that everything wants to eat you.
Yeah.
Kinky.
It's in some manner of speaking, I suppose. But morning comes, and you hear probably the thing that wakes you up is, or actually, let me ask this first. What order do you all get up in? Like, who's up first?
I think I am.
Well, no, Nim's a laborer, so they're probably used to working right before dawn, or at least getting to work right before dawn.
Okay. Yeah, then they're probably up first, and then it's probably me because I get my workouts in very, very early in the morning.
And then Farron, who's up like when sunlight hits him, and critters start moving.
But in the bit of time before everyone else is up, Nim, you would see that Maedi is in the like main kitchen, and you see is like preparing a few different things, but would make note to you. Oh, hello, dear. Did you rest well? Odyssea will be back in a little bit. She's just doing a little bit of rounds and checking in on a few other folks. But are you well?
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't remember when I fell asleep, so sorry, I guess. I don't know if that matters.
Oh, not at all. You missed a story or two, which I'm sure your friends will be kind enough to inform you about. But no,
At
it's
least the
just
short version.
well, hopefully the details will get across in some way or another. But it's nice to see someone else up bright and early.
Yeah, I'm just used to being up. Also, Nim is assuming that this is just like a normal story, like no.
Yeah, no, not
Not
old.
sad and dramatic at all.
Nope, just casual story. You tell
Yeah,
around,
just a
you
normal
tell
everyday
around.
story. Yeah.
This is probably fun. Nope.
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 Nope. But you see them continue. By the way, dear, if it's not too prying for me to ask, do you have trouble with water?
Why?
Oh, no particular reason. Odysseus just happened to notice that you seemed a little skittish around the river and the water. Just wanted to double check.
I mean, Sorry, don't take this personally. I don't like it a whole ton, but it's not like I don't take baths.
Is it a lack of skills, or is it more of a personal issue with it? Are you not a strong swimmer? I promise it's not very hard to pick up.
No, I'm an okay swimmer. I used to live near the ocean. Um
Oh, so did I.
and work there. So, yeah, I had to swim. It just wasn't the greatest place to live or work.
Well, I imagine that must be the case if you're using the word was and used to.
I left under bad circumstances and got fired at the same time. So, yeah, was. Was as in how I would like to make, my old boss my late boss.
Oh, one of those kinds of cases, I see.
But yeah, are you cooking?
Yes, no worries. We have some eggs. There's fish again. I'm sorry if you're not fond of fish too much. It will be a thing.
No, I mean, like I said, I live near the ocean. It's fine. Food is food.
Yeah, we do happen to have I think there's still a stew variation I can get to work on for a bit if you'd like me to try and get that going. Might take a little bit longer, but I can get that going if you'd like.
No,
Might
it's
have to go
okay.
talk to a Selkie or two.
No, it's fine. Really, it's okay.
Are you saying that because you don't want to be a bother, or because you don't actually want stew?
Oh, cause I don't mind that we get food quicker, and both things sound good.
Okay. Just making sure, dear. You really don't have to overextend yourself on our behalf. That's my job.
No, you're great hosts. I wasn't trying to be rude.
Well, you're not, so you don't have to worry about it now, do you?
That sounds good to me.
And you just hear them the entire time that they're cooking. There's just you hear the sound of just songs that coming out of them. That it always sounds like a mix between the sea tide, like at low tide on a very calm, breezy kind of day, and then also occasionally you hear it almost sounds like the sound of like seagulls going by the ocean. It's strange. Like there's sounds that probably shouldn't be coming out of this rather short uh, seal seal of a person, but it all it's like the sound various sounds of the ocean and its most calming, almost shanty-like forms are sung throughout the whole process
It's
of cooking.
so cute. It's too cute.
It's so cute, and it makes me so like melancholic because since I was young, I like basically grew up on an island, and it's so like the sound of seagulls and just like those kind of songs. They got me.
Yeah, you see her them pardon, I'm thinking of it just yet. This is Mayuri. You see them get to work and they make a rather plentiful breakfast, general staples and such, and they say, I will be back for a bit. I have to go and take care of a few of the more rambunctious ones, and sort of takes a look, uh, twists something like on that seems to be like on a little band around their wrist, mm, like puts it outside with the sun's rays just hitting it, and gets a look
It's
at what the
sun.
shadow. Oh dear, I think she's due. I should probably go check on that. I will be back soon. Um, see her like like pushing her hands together more tightly. Hmm. Chair or no chair? I think chair. Chair. Chair would probably be better. And you see them the chair, which seems to be very much like it's the equivalent of like what a druid would make out of a chair. And you see them just sort of like go down. There's obviously I was about to say no ramps, no, opposite of that, no stairs, wrong word, my brain's not working today. There's ramps to sort of like lean down back into the main area, and you see as they sort of wheel them across the kind of uneven terrain, it's almost like the vines sort of and the wood like sort of frame to it that seems to be mixed with some sort of like artifice or crystalline geode like technology. It adapts to the ground so that it's always a very stable surface, and when it reaches the water, it's almost like it has a very faint little bit of hovering over the water to let it get across. And you see them just sort of wave. And it's like, be back a little bit later, dear.
That's just it. Why is everything here so adorable?
I love this so much.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, Mustang, for all of the combat
Yes.
wheelchair ideas. This is
Holy,
basically
holy hell.
this is adapted from their work and also a few other things that a friend or two came up
Yeah.
with. But yeah.
Those combat chairs are so dope.
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
need miniatures.
Yeah. But yeah. The
Amazing.
rest of the group, I imagine, at this point is up, and you see a nice spread.
Yeah.
You also hear a lot of singing throughout the community.
Lovely.
Like it's almost we're approaching near Disney movie-esque levels of like morning songs, but they all sound like sea shanties.
Bonjour.
Like there's
Bonjour.
That's exactly what happened in my head.
but
Maybe it's like ahoy, ahoy.
Hey.
it's strange. It's almost like so if you for folks who know like how singing in the round works, it's almost like 1/3 of the community like takes the first verse, or like the community sings together all three parts, and then the first part of the community takes the first round, and then the second part of the community takes the second round, and then the third takes the third round, and then it's very much like a thriving community of like folk singers singing
I
in a
love it.
round.
I love it.
It's a very
It's
very
just
rapturous thing.
it's just all Selkie bards.
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
It's probably at this point where you hear like a distant like of just like Hal waking up and like and getting out of bed and just like stretching. And she comes like out of her room stretching. And she's like, "Good morning."
Nim is already just eating lots of food and is just kind of like literally just food in mouth and just being like, "Mm."
And then I probably go outside and I do some more stretches, and then I do some workouts. I do some, push-ups, some bicep training, some whatever. Who cares?
And at some point, Farron just does like a superhero landing down out of the tree.
Uh-huh. Which
You-
which startles me greatly, but it's like a startle where I go like Jesus Christ, you scared me.
Did I?
Yeah. Yeah, you did. Uh-huh.
Sorry.
I would say it's around this time after Farron's landed and that's happening that you hear almost like a, oh, look at this fucker over here. It's quite a delightful little prancer coming down from the tree, aren't you? And you see,
Fucking excuse me?
yes, ex fucking excuse you. Why the hell are you sleeping in a tree?
Do I always
Gotta-
sleep in trees?
Who is this?
You got a
Who is
house. Why don't you sleep in a house?
Because I like trees.
So do I. But why would I give up a bed when I could sleep in a house? It's just common sense.
Yes, Aaron. Why would you give up a bed if you could sleep in a house?
Do I look like I possess an ounce of common sense?
Well, the fact of the matter is, you really don't. And you see, you hear the voice, because probably at this point, wondering who the fuck is saying this / where is it coming from?
Who the
You
fuck
see,
is reading Farron to filth?
there is a bit of ways, with darker gray skin tone, fins with the fur that has little black and white rings to it. Among all the Selkie seal folk types you've seen, the least humanoid and the most who looks like if they needed to transition to full seal, they wouldn't need to move that much in the features department. A 4 foot tall seal folk with a bow and arrow on the back. It looks like wearing at least a couple of different pelts, and there's a bag of fish on their back that looks as though it's been freshly caught. And there's a few other like archers around them, also all seal folk, all significantly taller, but they all seem to be like giving deference to the shortest one. You know, you're right about what she said. Definitely don't look like you have sense.
Okay, right. And who exactly are you?
I'm Marcia. Pleasure to meet you.
I don't
The head of
think
the
so.
archers here. Oh, it'll be a damn right. Oh, it wasn't a damn right sight. Pleasure to see you either.
I'm just like looking back and forth, and it's just a Spider-Man meme of like it's the same picture.
Is there any particular reason you've decided to interrupt my morning?
Yeah. You just happened to land in one of the traps. You might want to look at your feet. And you do see that you are about 2 inches away from landing in what looks like a makeshift punji bear trap.
I mean, I missed it. It's fine.
Like I said, no sense.
Could I had your leg chopped off? It's fine.
But to be honest, why put a bear trap directly underneath a tree?
You see the squirrel and the other things that happen to be scurrying up around up there. They make for decent eatings.
Then why
That
not just shoot him at the tree?
Save that for the fish and for the bigger things. Do you actually need a bow to catch a small thing? You don't get it with your hands.
It's more fun.
Fun, demonstration of lack of skill. You know, the two are synonymous at times.
Do you want to put some money on that?
Rather not. I don't ever take an sure to win. Seems rude.
Insured when?
Nice to see you, fella. I hope the community's treating well. Welcome to the river pond. She just carries her way through.
It's like just like running finger along the bowstring, just like give me an excuse. Give me an excuse.
And you do see the other four are giving you the like look of like
I'm like, I turn to Farron and I'm like, I am so sorry, but you just got read for filth.
Yeah,
I'm so
like, I know I'm not that smart, but even I know that.
wow. That was
Can we just fucking go?
sure. You know what? Sure.
I like Nova's comment. They walk off backwards and snap their fingers. Just like,
Yes.
Meanwhile,
Oh my god.
Nim's inside just being like, "You gonna eat anytime soon?"
I run inside and I'm like, just guess what just happened? It's crazy.
It's right around this time you do see Odysseus walk through the main door, and it's like, oh, good morning, everyone. So is everyone sleep well? Everyone have a good start to their day yet?
I had a wonderful start to my day after what I've just seen. That's beautiful.
Farron literally just like drops down at the table and just starts eating grumpily.
Are you doing all right?
I'm fine.
You sure you have the look of someone who's dealing with some level of like mild stomach issues or indigestion? Do you need me to help?
It's not that.
Oh, okay. So what are we doing today?
Well,
I heard there were some stories and you whatever just happened to Farron, I guess.
sir, you see them sort of take a careen their head, like take a peek outside through the door, like, I see you've had a run-in with Marcia.
That's one way to put it.
I assume she did not take very kindly to you disrupting some of her local traps and such.
I didn't disrupt a damn thing.
Regardless if you actually did, she will see it that way. She's a very stubborn woman.
Yeah, stubborn. That's the word for it.
There are other more unpleasant words we could use, but I'd prefer not to use them. She is the head of the main hunting group here. They're a rather valued part of the community, despite Sia at times being perhaps a little prickly.
So I'm assuming this morning didn't go swimmingly?
It went beautifully
Swimmingly.
for me, but
I appreciate you, Gabriel. I appreciate
come on
you.
now. I didn't even catch that. I was like, you know what?
Thank you, Nova, for that comment. Farron gets more Irish the angrier thinking.
True. And I just look at Farron, but I don't say anything. I'm totally keeping my mouth shut about this. But that it was very dignifying to see. And I go on and I tell the story about what happened and about that's my what
Thomas Reimer.
yeah, Thomas Reimer about that and the very sad story that got told us yesterday night.
I don't
Yeah, so
s-
sorry, what was that?
I don't see how it's a sad story. It's like, it's badass. If you think about it.
It's a person asking for 10 people to just like give up their life. Come on.
It, I
That's
mean,
pretty sad.
if they consented, okay. I don't know. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, but also
But also, giving up without a fight, a real fight, a fight to show your brawn and your strength in life, not only in life but also in battle. That's just a cheap way out for me.
How not all of us can be a great hunk of rippling muscle like you.
Well, I thank you very much for the compliment. But everyone has muscle and everyone has their own strength, you know? And so,
And here, Odyssey pipe up. Yes, some folks are not are not destined to take the path of being one for which brawn comes easily. Sometimes some other folks train with more precision. Some folks make use of their limited skill sets in order and focus on them as best they can and improve them.
yeah, and also just losing a loved one is terrible. That's just I can understand why they wanted them back.
death is hard to trick, though.
I mean, death is death. Happens to all of us eventually.
Mm-hmm. So getting a person back and asking people to give up their life for that, that doesn't sit right with me.
I also don't know that that situation could have been solved by punching it anyway. I've tried that. It doesn't necessarily go well.
Maybe.
Humans just cracking their knuckles while they're saying.
Maybe you're right this time, but normally I would punch it.
I mean, to be fair, I just shoot it, so.
I don't know what you do when there's nothing there to shoot. I mean,
You just shoot
I
anyway.
go and find something to shoot.
Yeah, like
very
and not
strange lot.
yeah, but not like a living thing. You can just punch a tree.
You can just shoot a tree.
Yeah,
But you're better off shooting deer.
I guess we are the same in this.
I mean, you literally punch things. I kind of punch things from afar with an arrow.
Have we found commonality? Amazing.
oh, okay, yes. However, so I did try to solve a problem like that, and it didn't go that great. And yeah, I would give anything to see certain people get their just desserts. And I tried, that's how I became a stonemason. And trust me, hitting stone and being able to see it crack is satisfying, but occasionally not as satisfying as other things hitting the pavement.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
I mean, what I did to help Farron and Serena could have messed me up pretty bad, but
In fairness, I don't remember much of that. So whatever you did, we're alive. So thank you.
I mean, Hal really helped with that. I just had to get rid of the Kelpie. That's what its name was.
And that was all you. So good job on that.
Wait, out
Anyways,
of character. Did Hal see that?
No,
I mean, how's
I don't
there?
think so. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
there, but the I
You
didn't
did see the
directly
exploding
see.
of the kelpie
I did. Okay.
by
So
the
yeah, I
holy
did see it.
smite. You did see it. That was right
Amazing.
before the massive shambling vine creature decided to eat you. That was pre-vine ingestion.
Yeah, it was pre nom time.
Pre-vine noms.
Yes.
We had post-vine noms. This was pre-vine noms.
Yes. God. Okay.
On that note, Odysseus, by the way, with you all having those little like trades about like just shooting a tree and such, it just had the. If anyone knows the Mr. Krabs meme where he's just like has had that kind of equivalent face, and you see probably on their face is kind of the expression of someone who's like rethinking whether this is a good idea or not.
Oh my God.
But in any case, I think if we would like to make our way to the temple today, we can. If there are any preparations you'd like to make or chat with any of the folks just to see if they have any information, we could do that. But I am willing to move forward and see what we can do. Your friend went for a bit of a walk out in the forest. I think she will be back in a short time.
We sure that she's gonna be okay? I mean,
Yeah, she can turn into anything, like a bird, a gnat, you know.
yeah. Mm,
I mean, I could always go through the trees and like use my knife to leave a trail of like symbols for her to follow us.
That's actually good, I think.
okay,
we
if
can
we
like
can
leave
do
her
that,
a note here.
just leave it.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can leave a trail and we can try to get to the temple. Oh wait, you said that those things, the big nasty tar monsters that try to ruin the world.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a
Those
name for
ones.
those?
Those ones, I don't think I ever actually gave you a name.
I don't think so either.
The ones the other alien-like creatures that seem to be in their thrall, those ones are known as astral ravagers. The other ones didn't Winnie.
You did give a name, a very complicated, very ominous sounding name.
Yes, I did give that for the ones who seem to take after. Yeah, I did give that one for rhymers, which the other ones, the ones who are not the ravagers, seem to be very similar to in description. Those ones were given the name Apostles of Anathema.
That one.
Damn it, Nova.
That sounds horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because when I found
Interesting.
out what the word anathema meant, I had to use it in some way because I was excited. It made me happy. That very specific word nerd. Fine. But
Amazing.
whatever you decide to do, we'll carry forward with that. But on that note, this is where we're going to take a break. We went a little bit over where our usual point for the break is, but we're going to take about a 10-minute break. And when we come back, we'll continue on and see how far our party gets into looking into what's happening in the forest, if they can get to the temple, and if they can deal with the mixture of astral ravagers and the now named Apostles of Anathema. We'll see you all soon.
Weird. See ya.
Bye.
Hello there, wonderful viewers. We return. Just had a nice little bit of break. Hope folks got some water, stretched, took your meds. If you haven't, take them. And we are back. The party is the morning after their initial trek through the primeval garden forest, where they are currently staying with a heavenly individual and psychopomp, and their rather kind, very talkative, very loud, and helpful Selkie spouse. And right now, we're coming to deciding with the party what they would like to do next as to how they would want to proceed with the next bit of their journey towards the forgotten temple to Zahara. Now, what would you like to do next?
Well, I wanna like go into town a little before we head off. I tell that to the party. I'm like, yeah. So I would like to go around the town a little and maybe see a little bit of the folks here. Also see if they like sell some cool things. I need a new water skin, so
Oh, that's right. We need to grab you some supplies.
yeah, I need to have some supplies and new boots, maybe some polish for my armor, because it looks like shit. um so yeah, that I would like to go into town a little before we head off, if that's okay with you all.
Is that all right? Okay.
Farron just watching the entire time, looking for that one Selkie.
Excuse.
Excuse to just go and glare at them.
That one Selkie. That one seal folk.
It'd be-
Just
It'd be like Hawkeye pointed at Quicksilver. It's like, would no one hit him? No.
No, don't do it.
It's
don't
like that
worry.
scene from the Avengers or something where Hawkeye's like, I could totally.
No one would
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
know.
No one would ever know.
If I wanted to. And I
Sure.
want to, but
A premeditated murder contemplation aside,
yep.
which is a turn of phrase I never thought I'd have to use in a session ever. You are able to go around the community, and you are able to see that there are three distinct sort of sets to the community and sort of like divisions amongst it.
Mhm.
There is one set, folks who tend to be even more on the bulky side, a little bit more enthusiastic on the singing and such, and who look as though some of their homes look a little bit more dug into, as though there could actually be like almost like little cellar openings on the sides of them. So it looks as though, and when you pass by them, it almost looks like there's a full tunnel network beneath some of their homes. It looks as though they're rations and things of that sort that are being set aside for the winter, because that's a thing that actually seals do sometimes. There is another group that group, that subset of the community, looks as though a lot of them are actually working with what look like older Selkie skins, and are actually making quilts that look as though they have detailed patterns on them, that look as though they're telling their own kinds of stories and histories to them. Another part of the community, a little bit on darker brown fur to their coats, look as though they're more involved with what might be considered like the industry. It looks as though some are involved with making some weapons, like little like spears or lances. Some folks are involved in the construction of actual bows and other hunting gear. And it looks as though there are a few, mostly kids actually around here, who look as though some of them are wearing, I guess, somewhere between crystalline geode goggles and Magitech style goggles. So think somewhere, for anyone who's a Final Fantasy 14 enthusiast, think somewhere around those kind of lines of the goggles that they're wearing. But some of the kids look like they might only have like a singular like goggle like panel for one of their eyes, and like when some of them look up, they like take the whole panel out, and some of them are actually missing eyes.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And they're some of them
There's
are like, hello.
Hi.
you every session I have to like my heart is broken by how wholesome some stuff is.
Yeah, I'm like I'm walking around, but I'm kind of self-conscious, so you see me like a little hunched over because my armor is not like what I want it to be when when I'm like meeting new people. Like because she's so used to like diplomacy and all that stuff, and when diplomacy happens, you have to look your best. Um, so getting into a new community looking like this, she's kind of like, damn, it's
You
not what I
you
wanted.
see one of the parents to one of the kids walk over. Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
I'm doing perfectly fine. You seem a bit nervous or a bit uncomfortable. Do you need better clothing or anything of that sort? Do you need better
Well,
gear? Do you need anything of that sort?
oh well, I need new boots. And my armor.
Would you let uh the- come here Leonid Leonid come here. And you see one of the little kids comes over. Would you mind if I let my kid my son work on your new boots and perhaps try out some of his new equipment on your boots?
Uh,
And you see the kid is like gesturing behind you, just
um, um, that sounds very exciting. But something gives me an inkling that I should look a little further. If that's
like,
okay.
Leonid, are you nervous with the nice lady about showing them your things? Uh, I'm a bit nervous about sharing some of it because the last six of them have not worked out, and three of them have might have hurt people and blown up in some capacities. It's like the ghost. You, he is a joker. He exaggerates a little bit. Yes, there was a small burns, and yes, Irina and Adric haven't exactly been on the best of terms with us afterwards. But it is minor sort of things. This is the sign of progress.
I I all of a sudden uh become aware of my extreme height, and I just like I kneel down.
You are a minimum like a foot taller than most of these, and
Yeah.
especially the kids. You're like 2.5 feet taller than some
Hmm.
of them.
Yeah. So I'm like, hold on. I crouch down to the kid, and I'm like, how's about this? I you do to my boots whatever the hell you want, and I won't judge you for what happens after. Deal?
Are you sure? I'm just trying to make something. I'm just trying to test out some designs that I have from. For I think I could get them to float a little bit, maybe even for like up to like a minute at a time. It's just an idea that I have. I worked with some of the fungi and I harnessed some of the magic around here. It's a little chaotic, so I don't always know what the results are going to be, but I wanted to try and help you if I could.
You know what? That sounds so cool. And I just like I sit down, I like plop down on my butt, and I just like take off the boots. I'm like, here, take them, please. Please.
Oh, thank you. You're a very pretty lady, and thank you so much for all of this. You're also very tall, very very
Thank,
tall.
thank you. Thank you.
See,
Wow.
aha. See, my son will be back very soon. He will be very proud. I am already very proud of him. This will make me even more proud of him.
I could understand that,
Leonid,
yeah.
show them your greatness. And he's just like very unnecessarily loud about it, and you can feel the son's embarrassment from a fair distance away.
Like I see this happen, and I'm like, "Ah, my parents are like that." I say that very softly. And then I stand up again, and I go, and you saw that I am kind of insecure because my armor isn't like, it's not clean, and I'm not presenting myself in the best way possible.
Oh, pish posh.
setup.
It is very easy to solve this. It can be changed in but a moment. Let me go talk to some of the other folks. And I promise that they will, any improvements they add will be automatically perfect. I can guarantee you that they will be this. Let me see. Dima, get over here. We have someone else who wants to, who we get the chance to work with armor. This does not happen every day.
Howding's just gonna end up with like the Pegasus boots, but there's a 50-50 chance of them exploding.
You know what? That sounds like a good trade.
I was gonna turn to Nim as this like guy's like asking for like, all of his kids to come, especially when he mentions the thing about the armor. It's like, if I don't get to work with armor that often, how good could it possibly be?
I
don't
don't
know.
hear this.
You see, even though he's turned around, you see him raise his finger. Oh, do not doubt the work of my kin, my delightfully judgmental friend.
I didn't even hear it, and I like turn around and I'm like, who was judging?
Nim, it was Nim.
You know what? We'll never know, but let's see.
Odysseus, by the way, has just been standing by the side and just sort of like holding in a big laugh the entire time, like losing their shit. And she's just enjoying herself so much. It's like,
That's amazing.
I'm sorry. I don't often get the opportunity to introduce folks to the community, particularly folks who come from some of the older communities. That you'll have to pardon them. That is Leopold. He is from the older care community that used to be here before the Darrow River Pod community was fully established.
Amazing.
He has a penchant, if you will, perhaps even a minor obsession, interest. The words become synonymous after a certain point in technology. He has imparted this interest into his children. His children, however, have been the only ones to benefit from sense.
Oh, I go. You know what? It's totally fine because in my village we don't have much of technology or whatever. So this is really the first time I get to experience it. So
I was totally waiting for you to say that we don't have much sense.
yeah, neither do we have that. You know, it's fine. It becomes synonymous at one point.
Nim just sitting there at the mention of technology and being like, right, Harian, if you want to risk your life on this, that's all you. All you.
Well, at least I risked it for technology, right? Science.
Okay. Howdian, I would like you to roll me a d20.
Sure.
1 to 10, something will happen. 11 to 20, something else will happen.
Oh, don't roll off the table. Nice. 16.
Okay. You see this little kid, like, we're talking like 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot tall Selkie kid, come running back about an hour later, which after you've been moving and exploring more of the community here. It's like, delightfully tall lady, I have brought back your boots.
I turn around immediately and I squat down. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much.
It's your boots that that had before. They've been properly cleaned and polished, but the soles of them, they look like if you know the coloration of a garnet stone and a lapis lazuli, it looks as though on each side there have been little kind of diamond formation shards that have been sort of inscribed and sewn into the. Is it like leather boots that you were wearing, or what? What was the kind of style of boot?
Yeah, it was like I'm thinking like a leather boot that has like armoring on the front of it.
Like
on the
guards.
Yeah, like shin guards, yeah.
Yeah, the where the actual guard part is, the shards have been sort of sewn in and like attached. Like I was was successful in actually getting the technology, the bits to actually work properly to this. Um, it will only work for about 5 minutes a day. And just you see the kid just kind of like get very sheepish when they say the total amount of time because they're like, I couldn't get it for much more. I'm still learning to get the specifics out.
I
But
can I can hover for 5 minutes a day. That's so cool.
yes, but the thing is, I you, the fungi and the crystals that can be obtained in the forest, they are infused with Zahara's will, which is to say they are chaotic. So there's 1 out of every 10 times that was it 10 or was it 5? Oh no, 5. Sorry, 1 out of every 5 times that you use it, there is a possibility that well, something happens to your feet.
And with something happening to my feet, what do we mean? Like, do we mean like square feet, or do we mean like I have no feet at all, or do they just
Well,
stop working?
they may become snails. They may become lead. They may turn into plants.
Are
Uh,
there good things that can happen? Can they like turn into like big feet so I can like walk 7 miles per step?
well, you don't need big feet to walk 7 miles per. Oh, you mean per step? Sorry, I was about to
Yes.
say you don't need big feet to walk 7 miles. That is something that someone with the adequate amount of physical ability could do.
Yeah. No, I mean like seven
Also,
miles
they
a
say that
step.
exact statement in that exact proper order, and then they realize they're speaking very clearly, and then they're like, "Oh no." They're a
Okay.
very nervous, sulky little kid.
I
It's
got
just
it.
like a seal snail.
Yes, it sure is.
There, there's a variety of different things that could happen, and I don't entirely understand all of them, but I do know that about 80% of the time you will just be able to fly for up to 5 minutes.
Awesome. That sounds good.
But again,
80% is a big percent.
out of for the last instance that 1 to 5, it really just kind of comes down to a luck of a roll of the dice to see whether or not it goes well for you.
I'm totally fine. I'm told my luck is like I'm told my luck is very big. So it's fine. It's fine. Thank you so much for working on my boots. That was very cool of you. Thank you.
And you hear the very loud and proud voice of Leopolding. See what my son has managed to accomplish in but an hour of time. See all of you, take stock of Leopold and his child Leonid's work. The kid's just like
I'm just looking around like, oh boy, I don't like being the center of attention. Okay.
And I just like stand up and I hold the boots up high. I'm like, praise him.
the kid just sort of gets faintest bit of eye contact with Nim, and I kind of imagine it's that moment of like, you understand.
It's just secondary embarrassment.
It's like none of you have experienced telepathy at that at any point, but at this time you have.
And you also see for whatever reason, the kid has disappeared, and nearby in the river, there's suddenly a new seal that's just swimming in the water.
Amazing.
Right, are we
Yeah.
done with the fanfare?
No, they're going to clean my armor as well. So
Oh.
Okay, let's snacks.
I still need a water skin.
I want to see if there's someone who can fix my bow.
What's wrong with the bow?
Oh no, not the star one. My bow.
Oh,
I recall that. Yep, because you did have the one that was kind of ruined. It was functional, but it will only work for a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, Yeah.
Hold on. I think I have
for-
something for that.
Mhm.
Hold on.
I'm imagining this is how
have,
is like.
Yeah, me like rummaging through my stuff. I have kiln gauze. Does that help?
Wait, you got kiln gauze?
Yeah, I sure do.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, because that's in the magic item
It
Yeah, it
is?
is.
options.
Yeah, it is.
Let me double check that. Weapons and gear.
I took
And if
that.
it
I took
is-
that also specifically because of where Nim comes from.
Broken metal weapons.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. There we go. Yeah. So I'm like, oh,
That is
I
the
have
problem.
I have kiln gauze, but yeah, that doesn't work on wooden.
Not
wooden
quite.
thing.
Not quite the right material.
Yeah.
It would work. It would work
Let's-
on fixing your sword and other things, but not
Okay.
quite on the bow. However, I will say this as regards Howdian's water skin issue. You would be able, from talking around and what Odysseus says, you would be able to go chat with one of the folks who is part of the community that works with the quilts, and she would also very poorly holding back a snicker. Note that she does know who would actually be the person to talk to in order to fix the bow.
Oh, God.
So,
So what's the name?
Masio would be the one to go see about fixing the bow.
Is there literally anybody else I could talk to?
No, I don't think so. I think this is the only person. I think
And-
yeah.
And one of the other folks you might want to talk to for the water skin issue would be Kai Ball.
Kai Ball. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Kai Ball.
Good to know.
All right, let's go get those things fixed.
Which one would you like to do first?
Unless you don't want to fix your bow,
Do
Farron.
you know what? The bow can wait.
Are you positively sure? I think it needs to be fixed, right?
How I can still shoot you with it. Let's just get your water skin.
Okay.
How about we get the water skin and Farron can make up their mind along the way?
Yes. Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Just gives
good.
Nim a look.
Nim didn't see this earlier interaction, so Nim's just kind
Oh,
of
that's true. That's true. Nim wasn't there to see the
Nim,
interaction.
Nim's just looking like you blame me for the snide comments before.
taking metaphorical sip from personal flask.
Yes.
That's where we're at.
Uncorking the fucking. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll go to Kai Ball
Yes.
and
Kai
I'll
Ball.
and I yeah, I go to
A
sleep.
very again, one of the shorter seal folk, about 4'2", still kind of webbed handed feet kind of folks. Even more rotund than the usual Selkie who's around, and the individual. Oh, it's a pleasure to be seeing new folks coming around the area. What do I owe the pleasure? Who might these delightful folks happen to be with you, Odysseus? And Odysseus would sort of say, these are some new folks who will be leading through the forest, shall we say. And we're trying to just get them some supplies to get them stocked up and prepared for the situation that they might be dealing with. It's like, oh, fair. Well, come and God damn it, Nova. No, there is not a little brother named Mokuwal. I swear to God. That is. I have so many things I have to say to that, but. Kaibal would just say, what's, well, you seem like a charming lot. Is there anything that I could help you with?
Yes. I'm looking for a new water skin. Mine kind of got tossed by a vine creature. Um,
Oh, you happen to have run into one of those. Yeah, it's best
yeah.
not to get anywhere near that thing. They're rather I believe the word is peckish.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I didn't really have a choice. I got dropped from a portal
Now, dear,
into
that's
swamp.
probably something you want to be avoiding. It's not usually good to be going about interplanar travel. It's not good for the heart. It's not good for the health either.
I know, and I would love to avoid it, but yeah.
Well, then why don't you? It's probably for your best.
It
You
was
don't want
my
to take an
only
you don't.
choice. It was my only choice of travel because otherwise it would have taken way too long. We're saving the world here. You wouldn't know. We're saving the world. It's fine.
Sounds a tad dramatic, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'll believe you when I see it. I'll believe
I
you when I
am.
see it.
I am dramatic. That's the thing. Anyway, I'm looking for a new water skin. I heard you
Oh,
were able to help with that.
dramatic and sensible. That's not a combination I normally see.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Next, you'll be telling me you avoid sleeping in a tree when it's unnecessary.
You know.
Do you know what? I've had enough of this.
I'm sorry.
Word travels fast.
They don't say that. They don't say that. That is just I just want to see what Jason's reaction would be if someone else brought it up. I was like, I thought it, and I'm like, this is too good to pass up. But I'm sorry. Sorry. They don't actually say that one, but they're like the dramatic and sensible combination. They do say. They're like, oh, it's not something I'm normally used to seeing with folks traveling through the forest.
Oh. You know, I try. I really do.
Trying's the first step to succeeding.
Exactly.
How you get things done.
See,
So,
we understand each other.
Water
Yes.
skin. Did you have something you wanted to say, Gabriel?
Oh no, Nim's just like looking at Farron like, okay, yeah, dramatic and sensible. Mm-hmm.
To both just like share a look of right, sure.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, I don't see it, so that's fine.
Sorry.
No. Don't say sorry. That's totally fine.
This is the session of just inter-party sniping and commentary.
Yeah, I'm looking for a water skin. Of course, one that would be able to hold lots of water.
That's usually
And
the purpose of a water skin.
mm-hmm. And one one that maybe looks a little cool as well.
Well, are you looking for functional, or are you looking for something that fits a certain aesthetic? Can't give you both.
Functional.
Well, yeah, well, I'm looking for functionality, but maybe like some details on it, if that's all right.
Are you much of a reading sort of type, or are you much of a storytelling type?
Much more of the storytelling one.
Well, if you're willing to take some time and look into a little bit about the sea, then I can happily provide you with a water skin that covers has a little bit of a story or a tale sewn into the side of it as well. For whenever you're looking for something to enjoy before plunging off into the unknown, into the unnatural dangers that exist in the forest, or if you just want to laugh, whichever one suits your fancy.
That actually sounds very, very nice. I would love that.
Fair enough. I'll be back to you in a short amount of time. Feel free to entertain yourselves, however it is that strange folk like yourself entertain yourselves.
We'll
Very
make sure that
tall.
happens.
Have you ever made aware you're a very tall person?
Yeah, I've been made aware of that just by existing in this town. Actually, yeah, I know.
It's a very attractive quality. You really should like make note of that even more.
Why, thank you.
Just like leaves after that comment. And you do notice there are a few other like Selkies who are just kind of like looking every now and then. They're like,
I like turn around. I'm like, okay, cool. Um, Still looking to clean my armor, so let's get that done. Um, that's the last thing we'll do, and then we can go.
Okay. How? While you do that, Farron, you want some more detailing on your coat?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
That's-
going to spend the 2 AP to detail that, I think, hawk even further. So it can repel either. I don't think Nim saw the apostles,
no, but you would have seen the
the
other
astral
ones.
ravagers. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a sigil to repel astral ravagers on Farron's coat. That does mean that how you loses the magical detailing on the shield. You still have a nice detail
It just has no
on the
magical
shield.
function.
It just doesn't, yeah, it just won't function as like repelling fly traps.
It was just a makeshift tattoo artist slash armor, which is the best thing for a party to have.
They just have a hammer and chisel.
I stand by my statement.
What kind of detailing did you do on the shield?
It was just like a rough drawing of a lily.
Amazing. I love it.
You spend the AP and you are able to do that. You are pretty set. The gear comes back, and you are able to find a few other folks to clean the armor as well. You draw a lot of attention very quickly from a lot of other Selkie folks. Folks seem to be just enjoying the fact that there's like some new folk here, and they're very welcoming, like in that way where it's just like, hey, it's new people in town, let's just give them a good time. And you're able to eventually get to a spot where you're back at Odyssea and Mary's place, and Mary is just sort of there waiting, looking quite exhausted. She looks as though she's just kind of collapsed on the couch and is just sort of like, no movement, no nothing else, just here. And you see that Odyssea has like gone to like a storage like section outside that looks as though it's been enchanted to keep raw fish going. Uh, and like just brings over a whole raw fish. And there's just like the biggest look of like happiness and affection on Mary's face as they're it's like the look of like, I love you with all my heart for bringing me this delightful giant fish for me to just eat raw.
When you're on your period and your spouse just gives you all the food you want, you're like, thank you, love of my life.
Call me
Yes,
pretty and
actually.
give me tacos.
Yes. Tacos. Yes, that's a good one.
But also, it looks as though there's a little bit of talk between Mary and Odyssea before the party decides to set off. And it's not heated, but there is a moment of intensity to it where there's kind of a solemn nod exchanged. And then Odyssea just sort of like sets off with the party. And it's like, well, I'm hoping I return, and I'm hoping that this isn't anything too grisly.
Oh,
What are you
you'll
on about
return.
hoping?
Yeah. There's
Well,
On that note, do you really have to go with us that far?
if you would like my help to get, I can at least get you to the temple. Hopefully, that nothing too terrible is inside of it or around it, but I think my presence might help you. At the very least, should you get hurt, I can help manage that a bit.
I mean, it's Zahara's temple. Surely, like, It can't be that bad, can it?
I think it can be that bad, but with us, you will be safe. Do not worry. You will get home.
Can only hope. But let us be off. And it's this bit that, as we're getting near sort of the tail end of the session, what I will have happen here is I would like the party to try. I need 3 people to roll. This will determine the overall success, and this can include if you would like me to make a roll as well, but it is not automatic that I make one. It will be on Odyssea's behalf to decide how you try and get through. Odyssea, no matter what, will figure out the right path, but it's the kinds of dangers you might face along the way and what you deal with. You need to get 3 successes in order to make your way over to the temple. And the dangers include heat stroke, more of those man-eating plants, a run-in potentially with the poisonous giantkin that Farron saw that could become its own full separate combat if the party doesn't handle that in the right way. And other traps like, for example, being able to make sure which fungi are harmless and which ones are filled with their own potent wild magic within them.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Well,
Farron was going to be like up in trees doing the whole like marking for Serena to follow. So I'd probably be following
okay.
along the party and looking for dangers, like looking down.
mhm.
Okay.
So I'm happy to make one on that basis.
Okay, so let's see. Roll d20. Let's see what the overall
Give the one
result
with
of that is.
matching hair.
Yes.
Does
Natural 20.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. So what happens there is that there are points where, for whatever reason, the path seems to take a slight detour through a swampy area. It's like the forest just shifts around all of a sudden, and Odyssea is keeping the group informed and well aware of the fact that the forest will do that at times, that it will try and shift around, specifically when it senses that someone is trying to go somewhere they're not supposed to be going. In the midst of this, Farron, you take notice. You're the first one to notice this and are able to secure for the group, to inform them to hide and not be tracked or noticed by what appear to be 2 distinct groups. One looked to be frog-like humanoids. A lot of them looking, basically think Louisiana Bayou-esque kind of garb and wear. And even from up high in the trees, you're able to hear, dang old Koi is trying to like invade in on our territory. We're gonna beat them living hell out of all of them. Gonna get revenge for them. Gonna get section of the river done. Never gonna get past us. My name ain't Henry Flycap. I'm gonna get through this. No one's gonna get past my gaze. And then from the other distance, you see what look like catfish humanoids. We're like, do not care what they say about us, but there's going to be someone that has to pay for all of this. My name isn't Leonard Coy, and I will, if it takes my very life, I will ensure that I'm going to take care of those bastard flycaps. There appear to be 2 very angry families who are starting to converge on the area in front of you, and because of your natural 20, you don't have to deal with anything related to that because you spot them and manage to let the group know, fucking hide, like hide right now. And you basically all take notice of a full-on brawl that happens between the 2 families. And then
Thank you.
you hear. Oh, sorry.
Thank you for not having me deal with families again like we did in our last adventure,
Oh,
which went
yes.
terribly wrong.
Yes, that was not good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they're fighting, and then you hear from two distinct sections of the forest. You hear what sounds like the ringing of a dinner bell. And then both sets of families get up, and then they're just like they're shaking their fists at each other. They all have bruises and like spear tip points in them, and like some of them have like black eyes and what have you. And then they're like they're having that look of like, I see you tomorrow.
We'll get you after dinner.
Exactly. It's basically that.
Oh,
But yeah,
That's
great.
You avoided dealing with the fly cap and the koi families.
Farron just like watches the whole thing like from the tree to eating an apple and just goes, "What a clusterfuck."
Farron's is sitting up there like, yep.
This is a good show.
Like eating like the eating
Netflix? I don't
popcorn moment.
Yeah,
That is the first success.
amazing. GG.
All right, someone else. To get through the forest, that's one success. You need two more.
Mm-hmm.
Remember,
I
you can be creative in however you use your abilities. It doesn't just have to go with just what it explicitly states. I am open to creative solutions.
Let's see. I can do like a little I can spend one AP for this. That's totally fine with me. To like blink ahead a little bit and do a little bit of a scouting to like to make sure there's nothing like in our path that we
Anything dangerous.
Yeah, and not anything dangerous. Yeah.
Okay. Roll me a d20 and we'll see how well this goes. If we'll call it how successfully you manage to blink and avoid running into something when you blink.
Oh. Come on. Don't let me down this time, guys. It's a 3. It's a 3, chat. It's a 3.
So that's a hard fail.
Yeah.
It's not a critical fail. So you get it. You're gonna get a negative, and I need you to choose between gear or weaponry failure. This is gonna be a thing with Howdy, and whenever this happens.
Why my weapons, man? Go on.
Howdy just fails whenever it's a travel related.
Yeah, and it's always the gear or the weapon.
This is how you make traveling interesting.
I guess.
Involve chaos in it.
Come on, man. That's a tough choice. I don't want anything to happen to my gear, not again. But also, my weapon is very important to me. So,
I will give you a reminder: the blink blade does return to your hand if you spend the AP to bring it back.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I was gonna say something to my weapon this time. What happens? What happens to her?
So
no.
It's less what happens to her and what you are forced to do to avoid a very, very bad thing. So I think you have to spend for the blink to use that, right? It was the one? Okay, so you spent the blink. You do that, and you land on something kind of squishy. And you're like, why am I a little bit up in the air? This doesn't look right. This feels like really weird ground to suddenly shift. And then you look down.
Yes.
Your feet are currently on. You're balancing very precariously on top of the poisonous giantkin. And as you try and move away from it, your sword, from how awkwardly you blinked, falls out on the ground in front of it. It hasn't noticed you yet. Okay. What do you do?
Hold on. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I only have fighter abilities. Oh no 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 no. Well,
Be creative. Just think. Just
just
think it
be
over.
creative. Yeah. Well. Okay. So I am just gonna move away because I know that I can get it back. Um. So I'm just gonna quietly, very quietly. I'm just gonna be and like a very like look down at my feet where I'm stepping and which branch is where so it doesn't go like and it like wakes up the giant, which I'm by the way I'm astounded that I see a giant kin in the first place. I'm like, giants out here, you know what's going on. But then I do the thing. I just like step away and I watch where my feet are and yeah, I try to get up.
You also notice at random a few more motes, little orbs of energy, just start flying nearby, and the giant kin just starts like, mm, mm, mm. Its attention seems to be focused on them. And Farron and Nim would have seen that Odysseus took the time to be like singing something that seemed to commune with the dead that were nearby, and just were like, "Do you mind helping us just for a second? Just for a second."
Amazing.
That is so unsettling.
It
I
is, but it's so
promise.
cool.
It's normally I prefer not to use anything like this for this purpose, but you know, that is one fail. I need someone else to come up with something, and
I'll
then I'll narrate what the last scene's result will be. You can choose if you can't think of anything to just help address the the heat stroke situation for folks, because that will be an issue as well.
you said the Ravagers were also going to be an issue, right?
Potentially, that those were seen and noted in the area.
I mean, I can use a couple points of remedy to address heat stroke.
That's one way to get around it too. So if Nim can think of something else, I will put the remedy, because you're spending to do that. I'll put that as an automatic success, because that is something the whole group will be dealing with. But we'll say the remedy is enough for the whole party.
Okay.
So if you spend that, Nim, if you want to come up with something, this will be like the last thing, and I'll narrate what the last scene is because we're getting near the end of our time, and I want to get folks out. All right.
Okay, I wanna roll for the Ravagers. I do have an idea, but I'm not sure.
Let's give it a shot. When in doubt, go ridiculous.
Yeah.
When in doubt, go ridiculous. Okay. Can I just roll? I'm just gonna say I'm gonna do a dumb thing and roll.
Yeah. Try doing a silly thing. What you doing?
So that's so Farron has the repel symbol on.
Their jacket, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is currently melting in this heat, by the way. Not literally melting, but you feel like you're like.
At a point, he would have taken it off and tied it around his waist.
Okay, just checking. It's like, you know, your leather jacket in a very humid forest environment is gonna feel like hell.
So that's an 18.
Okay.
My
What are you trying to do?
Point Farron in maybe a little bit too close direction to where those things are.
It's not an immediate sense, but I'll say there's a slight push back when for Farron feels this in certain directions to help navigate through the area. So you find one of the clearest paths. It's weird, and it's not supposed to work for something like this far away, but I'll say it helps guide you a little bit, and because it was such a good success, we'll say that it does work. It is a pretty long afternoon, But you make it to a clearing where you see this beautiful. It looks like it's just it looks like a human's been overgrown with vines and flowers and thorns, but you realize it's like a statue composed of vines and flowers that sits outside of the center of a clearing, and a little bit of ways you see what it's basically, for anyone who's ever played Ocarina of Time, the opening to the Forest Temple, where it looks like it's kind of like stonish kind of steps going up, but it's kind of in a bad state, and it looks as though like the forest has reclaimed the whole of the entrance. Like there's vines and there's flowers everywhere, and you feel like you would see the opening to what this you assume is the temple, but there is a massive flower in front of it. Like think like it has like rose buds around it, but the rose buds are this kind of inky gray and black. And this is like I'm trying to do the conversion for like 20-foot radius size creature. What that would be in like meters, that would be 6 meters, 6-7 meters, somewhere around there. This is like 3.3 feet per every meter, so it'd probably be like 7 meters like radius for that, somewhere around there. But maths, and you see at the very base of this massive flower, there's a whole bunch of skeletons.
That's a great sign.
Uh-oh.
And we'll close off the session by hearing Odysseus say, "And here we are to the forgotten altar."
On behalf of everybody, oh fuck.
And that's where we close the session, with the "oh fuck" as the last comment.
That's good.
Excellent.
So yeah, y'all made it through, and you brought Odysseus along, who can potentially help you for the next thing that happens.
Yay!
But a bit more of a just low-key kind of session, but with Gengon, I didn't want to get into anything too heavy on combat or like moving the story too forward, but we had some amusing interludes with various Selkie folk here.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. I loved it.
Red for filth, apparently.
Yep. Not only Farron, me too. Damn.
And you acquired a new item from talking to one of the kids.
I sure did.
We'll have to see what happens with that.
If I lose my feet. If I lose my footing.
I mean, on that note, gonna go around, let everyone do their quick little plug as to where folks can find you on the interwebs, or what other projects you want to do a little boost for that you're involved with, as our last little closing out.
Sure. Hey everyone, I've been Jace, pronouns of them, and I've been playing Farron, the rather more, I don't want to say respectable, because he's rather more humbled, I feel, ranger.
Cowed.
Yeah, that's appropriate after that session.
Selkied in this case. Instead of cowed, it's selkied.
Oh, you could say he's had his fate sealed. Hey.
Okay. That one doesn't make me mad. That was actually very good. I approve of this one greatly.
No, that made me mad. I hated that.
Anyway, you can find me on pretty much all major social media at Ace Trainer Jace, and also keep a lookout on Twitter for something called Tumblr Creations, which what I'm working on. It's going to be a Patreon that is going to be up soon, where I will be creating a load of homebrew content for RPG, specifically 5th edition.
Very nice. And never forget, everyone, Jace is so finny.
Oh, that hurt my soul.
I felt no shame in saying this. You're welcome.
No, I know you didn't.
Next.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's me, your friend Ines. I've been playing Howdian you're a very buff himbo and also a comfort lesbian. I have now decided that that's the thing. um, um, yeah. Okay. So you can find me everywhere on the internet at Inez666 or with an underscore behind it. They left the username open, so just do the types and you'll find it. I stream. I'm really trying to get back into it. I'm finally getting like the mental health help I'm needing, so I'm pretty much like really getting back into like wanting to stream more and wanting to actually get back into it. So please look out for that. You can find me on Twitch at the same username. I do mostly variety streams where I sometimes do makeup, or I talk to the camera, or I play some games, or whatever. Yeah, like this thing I did. Sometimes I do that in front of a camera from scratch. Yeah. Um, Other than that, keep an eye out on my Twitter. I'm debating on starting a podcast real soon, on just inviting different people to ask them about what they're really passionate about and what they know a lot about in order to like educate myself more on different things, and maybe educate some other people in the meantime while doing so. And that'll be like a monthly or so podcast. I'll be having a Google Doc out for that for like people that want to participate and all that, but keep an eye out for that. So I'm excited about that. And I'm working on other projects that I can't talk about. So keep an eye out for that as well. Yeah, I love you. Take your meds. Black Lives Matter, Black Trans Lives Matter. Go vote, please. Oh my God. Can I like can I say that louder? Go vote, please. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day. I love you. Thank you.
Gabriel.
I can never find the unmute button. That's always why I'm late to the party. Um, Hi, I'm Gabriel. I played Nim. Your awkward half goblin invoker. I can be found on Twitch at Keldy. You can find me on Facebook on Keldry Smith. And also, I recently did some content for the Bolt RPG by Ajay. So if you go on Twitter, look up just Bolt RPG, spelled exactly like it sounds. And I did some content for mental and physical disabilities on there. So that's a great place to, get some more good inclusive RPG content. I also semi help my partner doing some crochet stuff. So this little crochet vest that I'm wearing is a little breastplate that my partner actually made. And so it's a half breastplate, and they are Crochet and Dagger on Instagram and also on Facebook. So you can find their work there. They also do cloaks, and they do gauntlet arm warmers.
I love that so much. I love it so much.
So yeah, if you want fun stuff for colder weather, they do that. So I'm not really plugging any of my own stuff aside from, I guess you can find me there, and I did a thing for the Bolt RPG. So yeah, thanks.
Hello there, everybody. Last but not least, myself. I'm Angela, otherwise known as Phoenix24Fem on Twitter, or the Philosopheme over on Patreon, where I'm a professional writer and poet, where I'm involved in quite a lot of variety of projects. Currently, I have 142 poems that are up on my Patreon, half of which are available for public viewing, and the other ones are patron exclusive, locked. I am one half of the Queerly Yours relationship podcast with my partner of 9+ years, where we are a polyamorous couple who are involved with other people, and we talk a lot about the different things that have helped us get through get through difficulties in our relationship and just have a healthy relationship. Most of it usually boils down to talk to your partner. No, for the love of God, please talk to your partner or partners if it happens to be your case as well. Uh, I am on Fridays over on Utopia at 9 p.m. EST, part of the Chimera RPG, one of two groups that are currently being involved with Amir Amarez's, and I do not recall the other person they're working with, Powered by the Apocalypse RPG, where I am playing a trans illusionist / reality and body warping individual. Just a very gay trans lady, is basically with magic, which is the ideal for me. And then I am also on Sundays over on All Nerds here at 3 p.m. EST. I am involved in a City of Mist RPG called Royal Flush, a Wild Cards adventure, where I am playing a death doula who is carrying the mythos of Shipetotek, a god of life and rebirth, otherwise known as our Lord of the Flayed Skin, because I choose amazing mythologies to build work off of. And also, I am, let's see, what the hell else am I involved with? I'm a musician for hire, and I'm working on my own game very slowly but surely that is descended from the Queen, for anyone who's familiar with that, with the For the Queen card game system, and also inspired by Ryutama and based very heavily off of the Winnie the Pooh movie Search for Christopher Robin. So it's a little cute improv game about trying to go through a year and various seasons while looking for your friend and traveling with others. Also, you're a woodland creature because cute. And I have one or two other things that I'm working on that I'm still working on some other things around that. So yeah, and I may or may not be working on something 5e related. I'm a little hesitant about that, but I have creatures, various creatures. They may or may not appear in this campaign as well, depending on how things go. But that is me. Thank you, everyone who took the time to tune in, and anyone who takes the time to watch the VODs. And want to state, especially because of the state of the world right now, take care of yourselves. It's pandemic times, and being kind to one another is not a luxury. It is actually foundational to us keeping each other alive. It takes strength to be kind, and it is necessary for us to do better. And no matter what anyone tells you, no one's lives should be forfeit just because other people don't want to value your humanity. White supremacy is a lie. Black lives matter and will always matter and have always mattered and have been foundational to many of our liberation struggles. And if you are anything akin to a Nazi sympathizer, I wish you a speedy descent into hell.
Yes, we punch Nazis on this channel.
Yes, we wish you terrible things. You deserve all of them. But with that being said, thank you very much, everyone, and wishing you a lovely week. Take care of yourselves. Watch out for each other. Love you, and we'll see you next week.
We love you. Goodbye.
Bye.